Welcome to the UNA Baseball Review. Here are your hosts, Coach Mike Keene and Jeff Hodges.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the UNA Baseball Review. I'm Jeff Hodges along with UNA head baseball coach Mike Keene. Coach Keene, the UNA Lions now 35-12 after a weekend sweep of New Orleans. Also a non-conference win over Union, but the biggest thing I guess right now, heading into the conference tournament, you've won 7 straight games in league play and you have a big series coming up at Alabama Huntsville.
Right, you know, it was one of those things. Our goal was to try to put us in a position to at least have an opportunity to play for the divisional championship, and we knew that we had to have 2 back-to-back good weekends, and the UNO was exactly what we thought it was going to be. You had to throw that record out. They were going to play very well against us, which they did, and every game was real close and could have gone either way. And fortunately for us, we were able to come up with 3 wins and put us in a position going into the last weekend to at least be finishing the top.
UNA tied with Delta State at the top of the conference standings, now 14-7, and as I mentioned, 7 straight league wins. The series against New Orleans, you won the first game 5-4 in a comeback fashion. Had a great pitching performance from Michael Watkins in game 2 to win that one 4-0, and then we're able to finish it off with a 5-3 win on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought the whole weekend I thought our pitchers threw really well, and we needed that going into the game and into that weekend. And obviously Michael is one of the, and I didn't realize that was his first complete game, and it came at a great time because it saved our bullpen and allowed us to have everybody available on Sunday. And obviously when you have Chad going on Sunday, you feel pretty good about the game. And but again, he missed some pitches over the middle of the plate, and UNO didn't miss them, and it came down to a lot of ability to execute plays, getting big hits when you need to, and it was just a good weekend for us.
And you played a tough non-conference schedule this year. It seems like every team you played in the middle of the week has been a nationally ranked team, but another big win in the middle of the week, 9-8 win over Union. It was a back-and-forth game against a very good team, but you were able to pull it out in the end with another comeback.
Right. We knew going in. I knew Union earlier in the year had lost some conference games when we played Martin Methodist. Martin Methodist had come off a 2 or 3 before they played us, and I didn't really pay attention to what they were doing. And I looked at their record, and they were 30-16 and right back in 3rd in the conference. And Union always has a very good program, and they're going to be a nice addition to the GSC next year. And I thought that was kind of another way, get to play them to see, kind of their style, what they're going to be doing, because obviously they're going to be joining the GSC. But they jumped out on us. Andrew didn't pitch real well. He was missing over the middle of the plate, and they got some good offensive players. And we kept plugging away, had good at bats. Fortunately for us, the difference was probably one of our better offensive days for us to get 14 hits, and we needed every one of those hits to get that win.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll have some highlights from UNA and New Orleans when we come back.
The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by TNT Fireworks, Shoals Distributing Budweiser, and by TVA Credit Union of the Shoals.
TNT Fireworks is proud to support the University of North Alabama and the Lion baseball team. Like the UNA baseball program, TNT Fireworks is committed to excellence. Our product, service, and teamwork are the reasons we are America's #1 selling fireworks brand. Check us out at TNTfireworks.com. And remember, if it's not TNT, it's not fireworks. TNT Fireworks encourages the entire Shoals area to support head coach Mike Keene and his UNA Lions by attending a game at Mike D. Lane Field. Roar Lions!
Daddy, can I get a puppy, please?
Okay, Sammy. It's bedtime.
Oh, 10 more minutes, please.
10 more.
Yes. Please.
Hey, Daddy. Will you buy some alcohol for my party tonight? We'll be right here at the house. You can even take the keys. Please?
Absolutely not.
Each time I turn around.
Never let me have anything.
Don't be a pushover.
I hate you.
Be a parent. Prevent. Don't provide alcohol to minors.
TVA Credit Union was established by the Farm Credit Administration on June 24, 1936, with 7 branches full of financial experts offering personal advice. TVA Credit Union offers low rates for mortgages, auto and personal loans, as well as higher rates on savings and CDs. TVA Credit Union is member-owned and operated, and now open to the community. TVA Credit Union is everybody's credit union. Give TVA Credit Union a call today, 256-386-3000, or stop by any branch.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. As we get into our highlight segment today, you're going to see the first of a 3-game series against New Orleans, a 5-4 UNA win. It's going to be a come-from-behind win. And you had some guys down in the lineup that really helped you out in this game. Jake Sloan with a big game, but it was just a big win for you to continue the momentum.
Yeah, and I thought that's we talked about during this game. I thought Andrew Allman and Drew Parker really were big and had some big hits for us and good approaches to in the game. But the good thing about it is Johnny was able to pitch real well. He kept us in the game, and it was going to be a tight tight game. Like I said, we knew it was. I mean, like there you see, there's a breaking pitch out over the plate, and they go with the pitch. So they're a good program, well disciplined, and I think here's something that really helped us defensively. We did not do that against Freed-Hardeman, and we did it, and we worked on it, and we were able to get some relays and exchanges, and we're clean and able to get some outs when we needed to.
And you've had people test you this year a few times in the outfield, but they've been able to throw out quite a few runners.
And that's such an important part of the game is when you can control the baseball, and I think that's sometimes it's underlooked because everybody talks about offense, but you can see right there if we don't have a good exchange and a good throw to the plate, that's another run, and it really changes the game. And when you get the out, it changes the game for the positive for us. So I thought it was a good start for us, show that our defense was really coming out in the first game and ready to play, and then I think it allowed us to be able to get a little more comfortable, and then Johnny settled in, and that's what we really wanted. We got to continue to be better defensively, and we got to be able to do the little things. And
Johnny's record doesn't really reflect it, but he's really battled for you guys this year and been in some tough spots, and but battled through. And again, another great performance. He's not going to get the win in this game, but he gives you 7 2/3 good innings.
And that's kind of been early in the year is just we were playing so poor on the first game, and and just making him throw pitch after pitch, extending him, and the last couple of times we've finally been able to allow to make plays and keep his pitch count down, and and I think every outing he's going, his location has really gotten better. I think early in the year he was kind of missing a lot of pitches up over the plate, and he's worked really hard in his bullpen. And I know he got with Coach Hancock about getting back on track and concentrate a little more on his pitching there. You see it really, that's where he's be able to use that breaking ball and mix. And you see a real good mix of pitches right there, fastballs in and out, and then a good breaking ball.
And bottom of the third line is going to take the first lead of the game. Coming up here, and that's always important in any game, but also in the series to get some early momentum.
Right, and I think that's in a 9-inning game. I mean, it's like you always say, it's scoring early. It's kind of about staying in there, kind of get a feel for their pitcher. And this guy had a pretty good arm. I mean, the scouting report was everything they said. He's a mid-80 plus 80s and a guy, and just got a guy that's going to be tough. And we're able to get a hit right there to get some things. Smitty get on base. We're able to run a little more. The last several games, we've been able to steal some more bases and get us into scoring position. So get him on, you get your 3-hole guy, or hitting where he hits in the middle of the lineup and get an RBI, and that's what they're supposed to do.
And a lot of times facing a left-handed pitcher, you've used a right-handed batter in the designated hitter spot, but you went with Jake Sloan. He really had a big game with 3 hits.
It was one of those things we've been kind of flirting with that, trying to find somebody to step up and be consistent. Jake did it early in the year and then kind of struggled. Then we went to a couple other guys, and then they struggled, and we just kind of talked about Jake, and then he started having some pretty good at-bats. Really started with Delta State and staying in there, because obviously you keep a guy that's hitting 350 in your lineup, you'd like to keep him in there at all times. And so as long as he stays in and keeps doing doing what he's doing, it keeps another good bat in our lineup all the time.
And you saw Sloan playing left field there, Darmal Moore out for a couple games with an injury, so it's nice to have Jake being able to step in that spot.
All right, and the difference is he has played a lot of outfield, but it's mainly been in right field. So it was one of those we asked him to go out there and play left field, and he was able to do that, and it enabled us to DH Drew Humphrey that weekend, and he was left on left, and Drew puts the ball in play. And here's Josh Joe, I talk about just manufacturing run. He gets in there and chops the ball. They can't come up clean because of his speed. Steals second, steals third, gets us in a position where we're able to get that. And this is just an unbelievable read on his part. He had good momentum, was reading it. The ball kicked off, and the catcher assumed he was go. The pitcher didn't move, and with his speed, and he really accelerated a home plate. And this was really trying to get some things going. I thought at the time, but really got us some momentum and ended up being a huge run. So very important play for us. So, and UNO is going to get out there and move runners like everybody does in our league. So and they're not going to quit. They're going to keep scoring and keep putting pressure on us.
And that score by Doyle tied the game at that point, so that was huge. And as you clearly saw, the ball only went a couple feet in front of home plate. So as you said, a great play there. And
here's another defensive play. Andrew does a really good job of staying with the play, but it was set over there. That the key to that is Josh threw a really good throw across the diamond as the kid had to try to avoid the tag, and then he slid past the base, and Andrew stayed at the tag, and just getting off the play, he stayed with the play, and as he went off the base, he got an easy out, and again, get us off the field, and instead of getting a guy at third base in scoring position, then he comes back and leads off the inning with a hit. So you not only get the out and get some things going. Here's what I'm talking about. You see both these two get up in there. Here we're hitting in 7 and 8 in our lineup, and both of them have really good at bats. Stayed on there, be patient, allowed him to miss over the plate, and really get some things going again. And here's Drew. Again, we got good speed at the plate. Allows him, so if he does hit a ball, you still got to put a lot of pressure. What happened here is that first and second, nobody out, so obviously we're going to be pretty good idea that we're going to bunt, especially with Drew, and he lays it down and gets it in position where there's no play. Now we get a load of bases, which sometimes for us is not a little nerve-wracking.
So we did leave 15 guys on this game.
Yeah, so it was like we worked so hard to get him there. We're just waiting for that big hit, and there was probably at that time of the game, it was one of those things, man, this is just not going well, because here, Michael, we think it's a double down the line. It literally hit the base and then ricocheted right to the pitcher covering the base. And we did get a run in, fortunately, but it should have been an opportunity to score 2 and really get some things going. So, instead of really expanding, it just went up by 1. But again, we come out here and we're pitching, we're getting outs, and we put Brantley Brantley comes into the game, and what he's been doing such a good job in the middle of relief, and he's able to come in and do his job. And right now we're doing is just trying to keep the game, as is, and don't let them score any more runs. And give us, again, obviously when you're at home, you get that last at bat, 1 or 2 runs, you still know you got an opportunity to win the game.
And that's something Brantley's been so effective at this year. Now has a 6-1 record, but he's come in so many close games and been able to hold the line and been able to come back and give you an opportunity to come back and win a ball game.
Right. And I think this is, again, we're getting good at bats, come up here, another leadoff hit, and so we're really putting the pressure on them inning after inning. Similar to what we did with the Delta State, it was just a matter of finishing, completing it, and getting a win. So we're able to get some things, and here Andrew gets a hit. Now all of a sudden we're moving runners over, and again, first and second, in a game it's a 1-run ball game now. Hopefully we can get some things, get another run in, and again chop it right there. And here was really, we had bases loaded, and it was a mistake on his part. And their coach talked about after the game, he should have went to the plate, and they talked about it before the plate, and it was just the pitcher just basically went to the wrong base, and I'm glad he did, because it allowed us to score a run. So it was we got it from hitting the base, and then we did get a break. So that was a good break. And here's what we talk about with Ben. With his ability, he is a position player also. Closing, so his athleticism on the mound really helps late in the game. And there you see a nice play on a bunt that got up there, and we're able to double it out when they were making some things happen. So now, what a great momentum switch again. So now we got a chance in the bottom of the 10th. Now hopefully we can get a lead guy on, bunt him over, and have somebody get a hit and win the game.
Yeah, that double play was huge after they had the leadoff man on, but you're able to get out of that. Now, as you said, to get the leadoff guy on, guy with some speed here, and Josh, and a chance to maybe try to score the winning run.
And this is the thing, when we get on there, we got his speed, and we were originally going to bunt him, and then we noticed that he was having a big leg kick, and it didn't seem like he was going to alter with his speed. One of our best base stealers, we thought, well, we'll go ahead and do that and get a chance. Well, he ends up, getting him to third base. Now we bunt him over third base with less than 2 outs. And Josh does a really good job, because it really doesn't have to do too much. Just get a pitch out of the middle, gets it well deep enough in the outfield to win the game, and we're able to come back and get that first win, which is really important.
And not the dramatics of a walk-off homer. We had a walk-off sacrifice fly, but the same effect. Able to win the game, and that's something Josh has done all year. He's driven in runs with ground outs, fly balls, whatever he's had to do. But second in the conference, 42 runs batted in, and there he helps you win another ball game.
And like I said, at that time, the biggest problem, a lot of guys when they get in that situation, they think, well, I'm going to try to do too much, so I try to lift it, try to hit and swing at a bad pitch, so then they end up getting jammed, or you can't get it out of the infield. And he got a pitch out. He waited for him to get a pitch out over the middle of the plate, and he's able to hit it well into the outfield. And that's all you need to do. The objective is to win the game, and how you do it really doesn't matter. And it was able to get the ball out there in a sacrifice fly, and the run was scored and give us a win.
We'll take another break and have more Lion baseball for you after this. The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by McDonald's and by the Courthouse Racket Club.
Looks like there's an opening for shipping coordinator, and I've got to pick someone. Tough decision.
Okay, you could be a rising star, but you just ordered a crispy McChicken and a fresh brewed sweet tea for only $1 each off McDonald's dollar menu. So you're smart, right?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Smart man. 2 sevens.
Oh! Wow.
The fox strikes again.
The fox strikes again. He's always striking.
The simple joy of being smart.
Hi, I'm Mike Keen, head baseball coach at the University of North Alabama. Have you ever heard the saying, great baseball players are made in the off-season? As a college baseball coach, I can tell which high school recruits are on a weight program and which ones are not. Help your young athlete reach the top of the sport by training with the personal trainers at the Courthouse Racket Club. Our 5 trainers are ready to work at your athlete's pace and your schedule. Try our 3andMe training program designed for 3 athletes to work with a trainer and lower the cost to fit any budget. Call Ken Irby at 764-0034 to set up a program designed especially for your young athlete. The Courthouse Racket Club, proudly serving the Shoals for 30 years.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. I'm joined now by UNA pitching coach Matt Hancock. And Coach Hancock, we're going to look into the future a little bit here and talk about an upcoming series with Alabama Huntsville and then some recruits that you guys have signed for next season. But first, Alabama Huntsville, they're still right in the middle of the Gulf South Conference race. We're tied with Delta State in first place. They're one game behind us, and this will be a new opportunity to go and play at their own campus field, which we haven't done before. So it's going to be a tough series.
Yeah, it's going to certainly be a challenge. You know, UAH is a team that got off to a bit of a slow start, and a lot of that had to do with the schedule they played. You know, they tested themselves, went down and played Lynn University, then went over and played Harding, and you know they got off to that slow start. But ever since then, they're really rolling along. And you know, they're a team that returns a lot of guys from last year and made some good additions. And playing at home, it's going to be a really tough opponent.
There's several teams in the conference standings. If you look at their conference record and put it up against their overall, you kind of have to shake your head like Valdosta State. But a lot of losses outside the conference, but that means they've really focused on the conference series and they have a good pitching rotation for that 3-game series.
Yeah, their top 3-4 arms are as good as anybody. And if you look at statistically, especially their in-conference numbers, they're at the top. So it's going to be a challenge. And offensively, you know, they've been really good all year. It's just a matter of they lost some close ball games early, and if they're shallow anywhere, it might be in their bullpen. So that might be an advantage to us if we can get there. But you know, getting those starters out of the game is going to be a tough deal for us.
Be a great opportunity for a lot of our UNA players too that are from the Huntsville area and Madison, quite a few, and they'll get a chance to play in front of more friends and family over there.
Oh yeah, and that, you know, that's probably out of incentive for UAH as well. You know, we've been able to go into Huntsville and get some recruits out of that area, and a lot of these kids know each other, and we know their coaching staff well. So it'll be a pretty heated 3 games, that's for sure.
You've added some recent signees, and we'll go down the list real quick. But first of all, Tyler Hall, a first baseman from Sparkman High School.
Yeah, Tyler's a you know, first baseman coming in, be another hopefully solid freshman we bring into the program who should have an opportunity to get some at bats right away, and hopefully be our next freshman of the year.
And then you have Matthew Tittle, shortstop from Calhoun Community College.
Yeah, Matthew's certainly a very talented player. Many people feel he may be as good a junior college player as in the state of Alabama right now, and he'll come in and have a chance to compete at shortstop and second base, third base, wherever we need him. A very versatile athlete.
And we've had a good tradition of getting some great players out of Northeast Mississippi Community College. You've got 3 on the list, but first, Taylor Bonifacio, outfielder.
Yeah, Taylor's a kid that, you know, when you look at our roster that we're losing, we're obviously losing, you know, some middle of the lineup power, and Taylor's a kid we feel he can come in there and supply that for us and play a good outfield. And he can run a little bit. You'll look at him and he's a stockier sized kid, but he's a 6'8", 6'9" runner. That should be able to steal some bags for us as well.
Michael Schmidt, a senior this year at second base, but you signed Bradley Noland out of Northwest Community College.
Yeah, Bradley's another kid. He's just a versatile athlete. He's a very good offensive player. He's you know, a little undersized, much like Michael is. But he's got some pop in his bat as well, so we look for him to either play in the middle infield or a guy you can move to the outfield corner positions.
You're always looking for a good catcher, and you signed Thomas Lundborg from Motlow State.
Yeah, Thomas is a kid that when you watch him play, he has some similarities to Dale Ricketts, as vocal as he was behind the plate. Very aggressive-minded player, left-handed batter. You know, he started his career at Arkansas State, then transferred to Motlow, so we're looking for good things from him.
And UNA has a young pitching staff. Of course, we will lose a couple guys, but you've signed 3 new guys. Cade Medley, a right-handed pitcher out of Wallace State.
Yeah, Cade's a guy that you know, we feel can come in and throw on the weekends for us. Obviously, we got 2 weekend starters coming back, but all that's up in the air when we start over in the fall. But he's certainly an upper 80s guy with a plus changeup that can come in and give us a lot of innings. We're looking for big things from him, as well as Damon Erickson and Morgan McCarley out of Northeast are 2 more guys that really supplement our staff and should give us 12, 13 arms on our staff that makes us really deep.
Some great news on the recruiting front. We'll have more Lion baseball for you when we come back.
The UNA Baseball Review is brought to you by Riccatonis and by TVA Credit Union of the Shoals.
I'm Riccatoni Valentino, and I've got a question for you. Do you like lasagna? Do you like spaghetti? Do you like pizza? Do you like ravioli? Do you like steak marsala? Do you like shrimp spadino? Do you like to have a good time? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you need to go to Riccatoni's in historic downtown Florence. They know how to have fun down there, and the food's great. So remember, it's Riccatoni's Italian Grill in downtown Florence. And tell them Riccatoni Valentino sent you.
TVA Credit Union was established by the Farm Credit Administration on June 24, 1936, with 7 branches full of financial experts offering personal advice. TVA Credit Union offers low rates for mortgages, auto and personal loans, as well as higher rates on savings and CDs. TVA Credit Union is member-owned and operated, and now open to the community. TVA Credit Union is everybody's credit union. Give TVA Credit Union a call today, 256-386-3000, or stop by any branch.
Welcome back to the UNA Baseball Review. Coach Keene, there are 3 Division II polls, and depending on which poll you like, UNA is ranked anywhere from 9th to 20th, or 22nd, excuse me, in those polls. But the ones we look at a little closer are the regional rankings, and the Baseball Writers Association have done them all season. UNA is number 2 in that ranking, but the one that really counts is the NCAA committee, because that's the one that selects the actual teams for the playoffs. The first poll for that one came out, UNA tied for 4th, which is about where you thought you were, but a lot of tough competition, a lot of tough games the last couple of weekends of the season, so it could be a lot of changes.
Yeah, and this is always the time of year, like you said, the writers poll come out and you kind of gauge, and usually they're pretty accurate, and compared to what last year, that's kind of what we're gauging on. And to come out, obviously there's going to be 8 teams that get to go to the region. You try it with the Sunshine State and the GSC, and then the SIAC teams. They all get everybody gets an automatic bid. So there's going to be one out of that the 8th spot. We know which one that's going to go to. So you're trying to vie for those 7 positions. So. I kind of felt where we are, obviously with Tampa having the year that they're having. They really kind of had one little slide, and they went right back up in number 1 quite a bit. And then I knew Delta, when we lost the series to them, that I figured that would be tough for us to jump Delta unless they had some kind of a bad weekend, which they have not. So it's really going to come down to this last weekend, and then how you play in the GSC tournament really kind of determine your fate. They always say the GSC doesn't, but I've seen in the past that it really does.
Yeah, we've seen every variable of the way things could turn out, but I know you've told your players, just win.
Yes.
I mean, that's what we have to do, and you can look down the rankings. Alabama, Huntsville even hanging in there around 6 or 7, so if they had a great series against us, who knows what could happen there. So the bottom line is you just have to go out and win your games and play well in the conference tournament.
And you look at the region this time, you look all up and down, there's a lot of GSC teams, along with Valdosta and West Alabama, or, even all the way down to 10. They have 10 as they show with that, but it's a lot of GSC teams, and Alabama Huntsville is the next highest GSC, so they've got a lot on the line this weekend too. So I know they're going to be, they're pushing for that. They like to get in there, so they've got 2 weekends to prove their worth, and so I know they're going to be bringing their best game this weekend.
The Gulf South Conference tournament coming up next weekend. It's going to be totally different from what it's been the last several years. No more division play, just the 8 teams. All 8 teams qualify for the tournament. And it's going to be at a new site in Rome, Georgia, at State Mutual Stadium, home of the Rome Braves, and it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah, it was, I know when we were debating on what we're going to do, I know our contract with the USA Stadium in Millington ran out, and part of the reason because the location now was has gone away from when we went away from the Arkansas schools, and then we're real fortunate to get the location in Rome, Georgia. I just got kind of an email, and I went and looked up it online, and I immediately said, yeah, that would be great. And as you look at it, it's going to be a great place to play. It's going to be a neat stadium, a lot of neat stuff around it. I think it'll be really good for our players and fans to watch some good baseball in a good venue.
And a great thing for the fans is every team's going to be in the tournament. They don't have to wait and see what the standings are at the end to see if you're in the top 4. So you can go ahead and make plans to attend. The tournament starts on Friday, May the 4th, and all 8 teams will play that day, as well as on Saturday, May the 5th, with the double elimination tournament. So a lot of baseball those 2 days, and then it'll end on May the 8th with a championship. But let's talk a little bit about what your team needs to do to be successful. I mean, you've been in this situation so many times, and depth in pitching, obviously the most important.
Yeah, I think if you get fortunate enough to progress, beyond the first couple of rounds, and it really comes down to pitching depth and how much your bullpen has been saved throughout the tournament. Really, the teams that come down, the teams that play probably the least amount of mistakes will allow you to advance. That's really what it comes. Can you handle the pressure of it? Are you be able to get your bunts down? Are you going to make the plays when you need to? And that's really where the teams that make the fewest mistakes usually have the best opportunity to win the games. Because I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty big ballpark since it is a minor league ballpark. So I think that's going to come into play. The short game and your ability to make plays. And it's going to be the good old thing. Pitching and defense is really going to make a difference.
And defensively, like you said, you've been making some great plays from the outfield. Also, your infield has been playing very well. Andrew Allman in particular last weekend, a lot of great plays again.
Yeah, and I think that's, we had a little bit of a slide, we really kind of struggled, and that was one of the things that I always look at, okay, what do we need to do why didn't we win some of these games? What was one of the downsides? Well, it was obviously we were struggling defensively, and it used to be that first game, so we tried to clean that up. And hopefully we'll be able to do that throughout this year and just really get back to where we were early in the year, which was a great defensive team, not just a good defensive team. And now we're trying to get back out to being a good defensive team. If you get into the psyche of the game, UNA with at least one win against every conference team, so going in, you can beat the team, but it'll kind of depend on what the matchup is and which starter you have available when those games come. Right, and that's the thing right now. Nobody really knows who we're going to play. And, I just try to figure out, I don't know, there's not really any one team that say, boy, I hope I can play them, because, it's just so tight. This has been really an interesting GSC race because, no one's ran away from, with the race. It looked like, West Georgia was led early, then Valdosta, and then now it comes back and it bounced up to Delta State and us. UH has been at the top, so, and now West Alabama's creeping right back in there. And so it's, they've all been playing well at different times of the year, and it's just going to be should be a really good tournament. Yeah, I've never seen a standings where maybe 2 or 3 games separate the 1 through 7, and then Christian Brothers really the only team that's really out of the regular season race. But there's so many series, 2-1, 1-2, back and forth, so a lot of balance. Yeah, that's what it was just looking at it. Balance is a great word for it, because it's just every weekend you don't know. Just when you think someone looks like maybe they got an edge on somebody, then they'll lose 2 out of 3 to a team that you didn't think could happen. And so that's why I said, looking at this last weekend, anything can happen, and things could shift dramatically from just one weekend to the next. You have a lot of guys that have been playing great for you. Michael Schmidt playing well all season. We had the Times Daily Jinx, I guess, had a story about him, and he went 0 for Saturday, but he bounced back Sunday. But in addition to Michael, Jake Sloan also really stepping up for you this time of year. Yeah, and I think those two, obviously if you look at consistency, Michael Schmidt's been the most consistent player, but Jake has really been the next consistent player. His batting average has stayed up there, high, and I think his ability to be in the lineup every day against whether it's a right or left-handed pitcher has really been allowed him to get back up and get his batting average in. Anytime you keep his bat in the lineup in the order, you really would like to have that, because he has so much potential in that lineup. Josh Doyle's really been obvious to see the last 2 series against Christian Brothers and New Orleans with his arm and with his legs. Yeah, that's I think Josh is another one who's for where he started from the year and where he is now. Obviously, he's been able to do a lot of stuff. Very good outfielder, good arm, and leading us with stolen bases. Really has fulfilled that two hole that was vacated by Blake Stroth, and he's really done a good job. He's had a lot of, he's leading top sack bunt guy, so he has to do a lot of sack bunting. So he's had to do a lot of that. Tool for us is an extremely important position. He's really done a good job with that. And we saw in the highlights and talked about Drew Parker and Andrew Allman, but 2 guys hitting down on the line that's really giving you a lot of offense this year. Right, and I think that's one thing about both those guys. Maybe their numbers aren't as quite as high as you'd indicate, but boy, they've had some big hits for us, and both of them have a lot of potential down that lineup. They have an opportunity to really do some damage down the lineup when they're hot. So you got to, you can't just throw them over the middle of the plate and expect to get them out. This being our final show of the 2012 season, we want to be sure and thank our sponsors that make all this possible. Yeah, this obviously the show would not be possible without the help of local sponsors on our TV show. TNT and TVA Credit Union, one of the main sponsors on there, but also with Shoals Distributing, McDonald's, and of course Riccatoni's restaurant, and then the Courthouse Racquet Club. So obviously you got a chance to go to their business, support them, that support us. And we try to do the same. So we're really appreciative of allowing us to have this show on the air and allow people to see what we're all about and give our players a little more exposure. We've been able to do this for a long time. When Coach Lane first came to UNA and started the show, and being able to bring highlights and feature our great student athletes that we have at UNA is really nice to be able to do. Right, and and that's some of the things we like to do, and it's one of those things that hopefully we can continue to do that as we keep progressing. And everything changes, media changes, and there's just a lot of new stuff that could be happening down in the future here at UNA. The GSC tournament coming up May 4th through the 8th in Rome, Georgia. Hope to see you there. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you again for watching the UNA Baseball Review,